took some time, but I finally figured out all the 7 members of the team. In the development of things, I started to come up with a really solid idea of stories as well. But something I have to kind of go back on in terms of the team and team building and different things of that nature is actually a former member of the team, or I should say, a character that wound up developing into a former member of the team. So let me take it back a little bit. As I was developing the story of First Brigade and the characters, and specifically the character of Replica, so Replica was not even her first name. Replica is actually the third name that I came across when creating the character. And the initial name that I wanted to use for the character of Replica was Justice. Why? Okay, plain and simple truth, I just always thought it was a cool character name. And also thinking more in terms of how I felt it aligned with the First Brigade in terms of the whole service before self aspect of the team, the fact that I was starting to figure out that, okay, this was going to be a superpowered first responder unit. And so Justice just felt like that would be the name to fit this character. It was a square peg trying to go into a round hole with trying to use the name Justice for the character of Replica. And I had already established her power set. I already had started to establish her personality. And Justice, although it kind of fits her personality, I don't believe it fit enough to warrant giving her that particular code name. But as I said, I've always liked that name. So it literally went into like the files in the back of my head. Like, okay, I'm not going to be able to use that name for this character. All right, so be it. I kind of moved on. And okay, so how did Justice come back around? So let's circle all the way back to that Fab Five kind of concept. So this kind of came as a joke. It's an offshoot of the Fab Five story that I was talking about, or story idea that I had as a kid growing up. So within the First Brigade, I was looking at 5 particular team members: Major Indra, Replica, Susan Serenity, Shift, and Trouble. And it's like, hey, it'd be kind of cool if I do this type of story involving these 5 characters, and I nicknamed the story the Fab Five. And that was the start of me thinking about oppositions. Okay, so who would best oppose these 5 characters? And I was like, okay, I need somebody that would oppose. I was thinking Major Indra. I was like, okay, because if she's the head of the table, I need somebody that's the head of that table. And that's when the name kind of started to float in my head. I went at this character knowing full well that this character's name was going to be Justice. And that's kind of how I started to develop her character. And from that point on, I realized, okay, she was an ex-member of the First Brigade. So, bow, now I had Justice on the team. Not currently on the team, but at some point during the whole history, the 3-year history of the First Brigade, she played an integral role within the formation and development of the First Brigade and how it operates. So right there, I felt like I was already personally invested in the character. Okay, so this is a character that used to be a part of the team, but is no longer a part of the team. So, okay, why is she no longer a part of the team? And like a lot of characters that I've been talking about, it's all about layers. So what was the layer underneath? So the top layer for the character of Justice, yes, her name suggests she's, all about, rights, truth, justice, blah, 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 kind of like that Superman motif. One thing that I didn't mention was how I pretty much kept myself in terms of the amount of powers that any particular character on the team would have. One character equal 1 power. I didn't want to double up, triple up, give characters, especially my protagonist, a multitude of powers to play with. Part of that is I've always loved those types of stories where although characters have powers, they're still the underdog. I said that to say with my antagonist, all bets are off. I just pretty much gave her everything as far as power-wise as I could think of. Flight, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, superhuman reflexes and dexterity, superhuman agility, superhuman stamina, enhanced speed. Not to mention, she carries around a Glock 19. And then there's also a connection to an Egyptian goddess of war that I connected with the character. So I was, like I said, I went all in. And in the case of Justice, going back into her character, besides the power, I was like, okay, why is she no longer on the team? And I kind of had to go to sports for this one. You hear the statement, there's no iron team. In Justice's case, it was all about her. She was the eye and the team. You know, if it wasn't for her, there would be no team. So I felt that was a pretty fun dynamic to kind of play with within the structure of not only the First Brigade, but how things eventually will play out with the character. So that was something that was it was fun to kind of see that organically kind of play out as I started to develop the character. But in terms of a first out of the gate antagonist for the team, I felt it was something that was fun, and it was perfect for me because finally I get to play with this name, Justice, but it was not necessarily the Justice that I was expecting.